'Cause We're Nerds, the podcast that covers trends and new releases in comics, movies, video games, board games, and much more. I'm your host, Caleb, and today we're talking Venom. Is Sony's movie really as bad as they're saying? Does the PG-13 rating hurt the film? And how can a universe without Spider-Man work? Find out on this week's episode of 'Cause We're Nerds. Alright, Jacob, well, we're here. They did it.
Yes, we are, and yes, they did.
Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
You know, Caleb, that's what we're here to find out.
Yeah. 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 Okay, so today, obviously, we are talking Venom. Jacob, we saw this last night in a IMAX screening, and it was not at all packed.
Nope. In fact, going to that movie theater, we have gone several times, and I think that is the least filled on a premiere I may have seen it.
Yeah, it was probably maybe the sixth full, being generous.
Yeah, I could see that, which surprised me because I saw some articles today and it was talking about how they broke some box office records, but there's no way.
Well, they broke them because it's in October, and nothing big gets released in October.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's why. I think that a lot of people went out and saw it that they weren't expecting, which is surprising based on those early reviews.
Yeah, see, I had seen some articles that said, you know, which this always happens with superhero movies, that people purposely did bad reviews on it. You know, something about the Lady Gaga movie that's coming out, or Taylor Swift movie, not Lady Gaga.
No, it's Lady Gaga.
Oh, is it Lady Gaga?
Yeah.
Okay. And people were purposely leaving bad reviews. And I mean, that may be the case, but if you want to see it, people are going to go see it anyways. I don't think it's going to affect it that much.
Yeah, it's interesting because the general consensus I'm seeing is that people like it a lot more than those early reviews were saying people would, which is really interesting because typically I think when the reviews are bad before a movie, to the level that they are here, they're usually pretty accurate.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I also think critics can be harsher with superhero movies in general. And so I feel like lately, a lot of times we've been getting bad reviews on specific movies, and then fans that go see the movie, obviously, they're very fond of that type of movie, and so they're going to get a little bit more enjoyment out of it. But I feel like critics are just, I don't think you can go off what critics say for the most part.
No. I agree. I think that critics are good for some things. Critics are bad for a lot of other things. If you're going to follow critics, I kind of think find one critic that has kind of a similar taste to you and follow him and use it as a guideline. Don't use it as an absolute. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I agree.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to jump in. We don't have any box office numbers. I feel like it's been forever since we've done a movie in theaters. But it's, August probably?
Yeah. No.
No,
yeah.
Let's see.
When was Ant-Man released?
Mission Impossible was the last one. That was August 3rd.
Yes.
So
wow.
It's been 2 months.
Does not feel like that long.
I think it feels like that long. But that's okay. So, we don't have any box office numbers because it's only Friday that we're recording this. So, the only numbers that might be out are the ones from the midnight release, and I'm not that interested in those. I think I saw maybe around 80 million. Do you know? Did you see anything?
I saw something, but I don't know if it was. I think it was around 80. I think you're right.
Or it could be 8. I could be adding a 0.
It could be. Here, you keep talking. I'll find out, Caleb.
All right. Cool. So we went to this theater. We went with actually probably the biggest group of people I've ever been with. We had 4 of us. Corey was there. That's Courtney's brother. We also had a group of 3 other friends who also brought 3 other friends and a group of 2 other people. So we had a group of like 9 people, 12 people or so maybe, filling out one row. And so I got a lot of different reactions to this movie. Ranging from really bad to moderately okay to, it wasn't that bad. So that's probably a pretty good range. Most of those people are familiar with Venom in the comics, so it's probably not a good barometer of new people to the Venom character. Have you found anything yet?
Yes, I was going to say, I think it opened with 10 million the first night, and it's projected for 65 plus million for the weekend.
It was way off.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah. All right, so cool. So let's just get right into it. We're going to do a spoiler-free section and a spoiler section. We will clearly say when the spoiler section is going to happen. That's also going to be marked in the time codes below in the description. So check those out if you just want to skip straight to spoilers. Otherwise, Jacob, what did you think?
I was pleasantly surprised, but not ecstatic.
Yeah, I think that's probably my reaction too. It's interesting. The movie is not what I would have done with it. I'm not entirely sure what I would have done, but definitely not this. I've seen reviews that say it feels like a movie out of 2004, and in some ways that's completely wrong, and in some other ways it is completely right. There's several times that I was like, wow, that's like Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, straight up. More than once. And that's, I guess, a good thing if you're trying to imitate that, but we've come so far since then in how we tell superhero movies that it doesn't really jive.
I agree. I think they were having troubles deciding which way they wanted to go with this, because watching the movie, some parts have more of a horror aspect, like a scary movie.
Yeah.
And then others have like this really comedic approach. And it feels like you would do one or the other. Sometimes it kind of threw me off because it would switch so fast. Mm-hmm. And it just, I don't know, that felt a little off. So it made me feel like, maybe they wanted to go scary movie approach and they got halfway done filming and they were like, let's do more comedic approach,
Yeah. And that's probably, I think, across the board, the best thing in the movie is the comedy. You're
easily.
Yeah, you're not going into Venom thinking, oh, this is going to be funny. It was hilarious, and not like they didn't mean to do that either. They totally set it up to be funny, and it was funny.
It wasn't even like something happened and you were like, oh, haha, that could be funny. Something happened so out of the blue and that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And it was everybody in the theater would laugh. And yeah. I think it needed that because I liked the scary aspects of the movie. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed those. But they pulled off the comedic approach much better than the scary moments, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the weird thing is, too, almost all of those comedic moments are from Venom and Eddie Brock. Like, the interaction between those two.
Which the interaction is not exactly what I thought it would be. It's a little bit different than I thought watching the trailers, but in a better way.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. It evolves over the course of the film, so where he starts isn't necessarily where he ends up with it. But those moments, some of the way that they're handled is plucked straight from the comic books, and it works really, really well. And I'm pretty sure I read that Tom Hardy did the voice of Venom. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I did not like it in the trailers. I thought it was weird.
No.
I feel like it works really well in the movie, though.
Well, in the trailers, you could watch it, and sometimes I wouldn't be able to tell what he was even saying. And I was worried going into the movie that that's what it would be. The entire movie you would be lost anytime Venom was talking. But they cleaned that up a lot in the movie. And you can tell what he's saying 99% of the time.
Sure. Yeah, and actually, you know what? I don't think there's anything he said that I really missed. It all felt very clear.
There was, I'm thinking of one distinct situation, but it was also because I was focusing on something else. So I don't know if it was just because, whenever you're like halfway listening to something, you're like, wait, what just happened? So that was just for me. But yes, the entire movie he was pretty clear. I don't have any complaints with his voice.
Sure, and that's another great place to talk about is the acting in this movie. I think that Tom Hardy did a phenomenal job. I'm a fan of him, and so I was excited when they announced him for Eddie Brock, and I think he pulled it off really, really well.
Oh, I do too. I think the majority of the cast did a fantastic job in this movie. There's a few supporting roles. I'm only thinking of two, actually, where there was one moment or two where I was like, that could have been better. But that's not something that stuck out. That was only after nitpicking with the movie.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can say this in non-spoilers. I'll save exactly what I'm going to say. My exact sentiment, but I can say that the villain in this movie, I felt was incredibly poor. I felt like it was very one note. I felt like it was incredibly underdeveloped. I felt like its motivation was paper thin, and it was really frustrating to me.
You're talking about
I'm talking about the villain throughout the entire movie.
Okay. I wanted to make sure. That's what I thought. I agree with you, but a certain part of me also liked things that were happening with the character, which I'll go into spoilers.
So here's my issue. And this is probably why I don't really like that character. That character was being evil for the sake of being evil. There are better ways to do what this character was trying to do that make more sense, and they just weren't doing them, and I could not wrap my head around why that was the case.
See, now, I actually liked why this character was being evil, but halfway through the movie, there was a line, and it changed. It basically changed what he said he was doing, and I was like, wait, what? Because I liked what they were doing at the beginning, to a certain extent.
I think I know what you're talking about, yeah. Well, we'll get into that more in spoilers. Don't let me forget, because sometimes we forget.
I will not.
We had Michelle Williams as Anne Wang. She was good, but I don't feel like she had a lot to do.
No, she was, I thought she was going to have more of a leading role in this movie. And she's more prominent in the movie as more than some other supporting characters, but that's what she is. She's there for support. She doesn't have a leading role, really.
Yeah, and then there's some other characters in here that don't do a whole lot. We probably won't talk about them that much, but this movie feels really small, actually. I noticed watching it that it just doesn't... I don't know, something about it... I guess it's the budget. I don't know what the budget for this movie was, but it doesn't feel open. Even in the way that some indie movies feel very open because you're outside and you're in green areas. This movie is almost entirely at night, and it just feels like you're always in these enclosed spaces.
So, Caleb, the budget was $100 million for Venom.
Okay, so that's pretty low for a movie like this.
Yes, and I know what you're saying. It didn't feel like there was much contrast between times or even settings. I feel like the majority of the movie took place in 2, maybe 3 settings.
Yeah, I agree. Which also plays into another complaint I have, which is the editing, especially at maybe for the whole first half of the movie. There was this really weird editing scheme. There's a point at the very beginning, you go through, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, and then there's a time skip, which it didn't feel as jarring as the one in the Fantastic Four movie, the Josh Trank one. But it felt really out of the blue, and I was trying to think through that, and I'm not sure how I would do it, because I feel like you kind of have to do that, but for it to be so far into the movie, I don't know, maybe it just wasn't transitioned into very well.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The main thing that I left the movie with thinking about the editing was that, and this is still not a spoiler, near the beginning of the movie, they do this really cool comic book thing.
You say cool. I say it feels strange, a little out of place, and really out of place considering the rest of the movie.
I was about to say, I liked going into it and having that, but them not doing that the rest of the movie at all, I thought they were going to continue that, and I was like, oh, this is a really cool, unique thing that a lot of movies haven't done. Like, this is really awesome. And then they didn't do it again, and I was like, but you had something going good. Like,
yeah. Well, one of my friends leaned over to me when that was happening, and he was like, hey, this reminds me of that first Ang Lee Hulk movie that they did, which most people don't like. And I think it did it in a different way than that movie did. I think that the way they used it, they basically use it as a montage.
Yes.
For the movie, which is pretty cool. I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. I think they kind of hammered that home a little bit too much, which is a general issue with this movie. I think they focus on things they don't need to. But also just the cutting between areas, like I was saying, especially in the first half of the movie, it just felt like it didn't flow right. Like, one thing would happen, and then it would just cut to this other place multiple times, and it kind of felt a little stilted.
You know, actually, what movie thinking about it reminded me of? It's an older movie. The movie Zoom, with the superheroes, the teenage superheroes.
The Tim Allen movie?
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what the editing reminds me of, and that's kind of what that comic book thing reminded me of at the beginning. Now, in Zoom, they changed the live action characters to a sketch. They don't do that in this movie, but the way they edited it, other than that, and throughout the movie, skipping spots and spots that can be a little bit jarring, that's what it reminds me of, actually.
Yeah, I don't remember that movie. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
It has been a minute.
Yeah, so that's not a good comparison for me. But, I mean, maybe it's helpful for other people. Let's see. The action? How'd you feel about the action?
I think the action was decent. I don't want to say a lot about the action because a lot of what I have is dealing with specific things.
Okay.
But I will say, overall, I was okay with the action. I thought it was relatively well.
I think there is one or two action scenes that stand out as being really good.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd call them creative necessarily, but really entertaining. And then there is equally like two that I find pretty mediocre and poorly executed. Like the final fight scene of the movie, I disliked. I felt like it was very hard to keep track of what was going on because the way the camera was moving.
It was like watching a Transformers movie to me.
Yes, that's exactly what it was like, except at night. And
yes,
Venom is black, so it's hard to see him at night already.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and then they have these crazy camera stunts they pull at the end, which is weird. The scene, I guess I can talk about it because it's in the trailers a little bit. The scene where he's on the motorcycle.
Yes.
I felt like that was a very poor scene.
You think so?
Yeah, I didn't like it that much at all.
See, I thought that was pretty cool.
One of the issues I had is they cut to him close up several times, and you can clearly see it is very, very poor green screen.
See, I was going to say, that's not something that I typically recognize unless it's like just absolutely awful.
Well, here's the thing. I don't either, and I noticed it.
Maybe I was too into the action and I wasn't. I do that sometimes in movies. You know, when action's going on, I'm like, ooh, you know, and I get into it and I don't pay attention until like I see it a second time.
Sure.
And then that second time I probably would have caught it, you know, but only seeing it once, I can't say that I saw that.
Yeah, I think that overall the movie is actually kind of light on action. There's maybe fights. Maybe I should say fights. There's a few different action beats, but there's really only well, I don't know if I can say, but there's very few fight scenes themselves, which kind of feels odd for a movie like this. And then the CGI too, I didn't hate it, but I feel like it would have been a lot better if they spent 150 million on this and really worked on the Venom symbiote, because it just doesn't look real.
See, I had a problem with it at first because I was looking at it and I was like, clearly that's CGI. That's not even relatively real. But then I started thinking about it and thinking back to the Spider-Man games that I've seen Venom in and the movies, and for example, how Spider-Man 3 did it, and not saying that's a good way to do it or a bad way. I'm just, thinking what other representations have done and thinking what material the symbiote is. I think they did a pretty good job. Like, thinking of that it's an alien species, it kind of has that shimmer to it, but yet it's like a black void. I personally liked it. I had a problem at the beginning, and then later on, it kind of grew on me.
I will say I had less of an issue with it as the movie went on, but it still wasn't. It's not the design or the textures they used necessarily. It just doesn't look. Sometimes it doesn't look super integrated. Probably the best looking shot of the Venom symbiote is in one of the trailers when he's in the street and he comes over Eddie's head, right? And it shows the full body shot.
Yes.
That's probably the best looking CG shot of Venom in the entire movie.
Yes. Now, I will say there's this very specific scene that I'll talk about later, but there's this one part where Venom has taken, full control, so Eddie's inside Venom, and then he reverts back to Eddie, and it looks really fake. Eddie's neck is, stretched out, and I was like, ooh. It was a quick, second, if that, but it hit me because it was so bad. I was like, I feel like somebody should have caught that.
Yep. And that's kind of the movie as a whole. It just felt really weird. Like, when it was over and people were asking me what I thought, you were there. I was like, I don't know. It was weird. It was, I don't even know what to think about it because it's such a mixed bag. The whole beginning of the movie felt really, really long. Like, that could have been recut in a much more streamlined way because it takes quite a while to get to Venom. It takes quite a while for the actual plot to get going.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, talking about CGI and things like that, I was just gonna throw out, I like music. I thought the soundtrack for this movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it. At the beginning, there was a specific song that comes on, and I was like, that doesn't fit the tone of the movie. But that's whenever I thought the movie was a completely different tone than it actually was. So I was later on, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that matches. And so I think the soundtrack, they have some pretty good music here. Especially there's a action sequence specifically that has some music in the background, and it is absolutely amazing. And I will talk about that a bit later, but it's spectacular. Well, not really, because Spider-Man's not there, but,
Or is he?
Or is he? Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't notice the soundtrack at all. So.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't, but that's just because, I'm a music nerd, so that's something I enjoy. Kind of like you catch CGI probably more than me.
Yeah. I noticed really good music, but I didn't notice it at all, honestly, until the ending credits, because I was like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
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 Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, good things. We've been saying a lot of mediocre things. Not necessarily bad, just pretty mediocre. One thing I thought was really great is there's a whole scene before the title of the movie comes up. I thought that was really, really well done. And when I saw that, it actually got me pumped to see the movie.
See, I liked it, but the first shot that was up there, the very first thing that you see, I feel like that was up there too long. That was up there, I thought too long. I kind of leaned over to Corey, which was sitting beside me, and I was like, this seems like it's, it's sticking here for a while. He's like, yeah, it's kind of weird.
I see what you're saying, but I disagree. It opens with a very slow pan, is what he's talking about. And it does linger for a bit, but I think because of what's happening, it kind of lends the mystery to the scene.
Fair enough. And maybe that was me just expecting it to be a bit different. And so when it opened up and it was more, eerie, kind of like that, maybe I just wasn't expecting it, so it felt like it lasted longer.
Yeah.
But that was just my initial reaction of it.
Mm-hmm. I will say the movie overall is surprising. Sometimes that's good surprising, and sometimes it's bad. I went in with really, really low expectations. So it surprised me about how much I enjoyed it, mostly because of the comedy. I think if you took the comedy out, this movie could be really, really boring. But on the flip side, one of the people that one of my friends brought was expecting it to be really good, and he was surprised by how not great it was.
Yeah. You had mentioned it in the opening, and I wanted to touch on it before we got into spoilers. I think that the PG-13 rating didn't hurt the movie at all.
No, in fact, the director came out, I'm pretty sure I remember reading several interviews where the director was talking about how this was going to be rated R or how it was going to push the envelope. Obviously, They stepped back from that, and they said that wasn't going to be the case. I would have to go back and look at those interviews to tell. But what I can say is this movie does not feel like it was an R-rated movie that they cut down to PG-13. It feels very much on that PG-13 level, but it doesn't hurt it. I think it works actually really well the way they did it.
Yeah, I was going to say, talking about PG-13 movies, sometimes it feels like you can tell, like, oh, they didn't do this specifically, because it's PG-13 or something like that. The way that they did some camera angles in this movie and things like that, it doesn't feel like, you thought, oh, they only did that because it's PG-13. It kind of feels more natural. And that's something I really enjoyed, because sometimes I've seen, movies that I thought was going to be rated R or that should have been rated R in my opinion or something, and you can tell a specific scene, something's about to happen and they purposely cut the camera away, but it's not subtle. Here they do it more subtle, and I think it matches really well.
Yeah, I agree. It feels very natural, like you're saying. Let's see. All right, that's pretty much everything I have for non-spoilers. What about you?
I don't believe I have anything else.
Okay. So, for my rating for this movie, again, I'm going to use my rating system, which is something like, go see it in movie theaters right now, wait for a cheap theater, Redbox, and then Netflix. For this movie, for the general audience, if you are interested in it at all, probably a cheap movie theater movie, to be honest. If you really love Venom, I mean, it could go either way. You could end up loving the movie. You could also end up really hating the movie. So I think a cheap movie theater is probably a good call. If you have nothing more than a passing interest, probably Netflix.
I'm actually going to meet in the middle a little bit of what you said. I would say a little bit higher than a cheap movie theater, but I wouldn't say necessarily spend the money on IMAX. Just a regular movie theater room, I think is a good average for this movie. Especially if you're a comic book fan. I enjoyed it. It's not the best. It's not the worst, but I enjoyed it. So I would say just a regular movie theater room for me would be my rating.
Yeah, I probably should have clarified a little bit too. If I had to pick if I liked or disliked this movie, I would pick liked if it's only one of those. But it is very, like, down the middle of the road. It's very mediocre. But there are things in this movie that are like, wow, yeah, that was really good. So keep that in mind.
I agree.
All right, Jacob. Well, before we go into spoilers, it's time for Super Serial.
Super Serial.
Whoa! All right. So I had a random hero generator pulled up to do this because I was like, it's not fair that I have a head start. I really didn't like the ones it was spitting out though. So I'm looking. Okay, here, I'll let you pick. Do you want to do Hawk Girl from DC or Nick Fury?
Ooh. Let's do, we haven't, last time we did, who was last time? I forget. We did Batman.
We did Batman, and then we did Spider-Man, and then we did Taskmaster.
Okay, so let's go back to DC. Let's do Hawk Girl.
Okay, cool. Hawk Girl. I kind of see her like as a honeycomb kind of person. Yeah.
See, I got this down pat. So, Hawk Girl's mace and her entire entity is magical. So, I'm saying Lucky Charms.
Potentially. See, I feel like Lucky Charms is a bit too fun for her because she's a pretty serious character.
That's true.
Honeycomb is like, it's a little bit of sweet. You get a little bit of that fun side, but it's not so boring like a cornflakes or something.
I feel like if she was represented as a cereal, it would be Lucky Charms. But I feel like if she was eating cereal, I could agree with you. Like that's a very basic thing that I feel like she would eat. She's not too extravagant, but at the same time, she's not too boring.
Jacob, you missed a real opportunity here. You said she represented a cereal. Clearly, she would replace the bird on Cocoa Puffs.
Oh my. Why did I... Missed opportunity!
Right?
I tell you what.
Isn't that good?
Oh, man, that's really good, Caleb.
Thanks, man.
Dadgummit. So, I'm not gonna say it, because I don't want to steal Hawk Girl's glory, but I definitely thought of a really, really, really good one for Rorschach.
Okay.
Just saying. I don't want to say it yet, but for the future, we need to do Rorschach.
Okay, cool.
That's all I'm saying.
All
and
right.
Speaking of Super Serial, if you guys have any ideas of characters that you want us to do, or superheroes, post on Facebook page, send us a message. Let us know what you want us to talk about with cereal.
Right. It doesn't have to be cereal either. I mean, breakfast foods in general.
I mean, exactly.
That's what we've been reduced to. A breakfast cereal podcast. Okay, so spoilers. Well, I guess I'll be nice. We are going into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, turn off the podcast now. If you do want to hear spoilers, keep listening. This is your final warning.
If you don't care, still keep listening.
Final warning. Okay.
Spoilers.
Spider-Man is not in this movie.
Kind of.
No, he's not at all.
Shh.
We're in spoilers, Jacob.
If you really believe that he's in the movie, he's there somewhere. If you really just believe in your heart and you're really craving him to be in the movie, I'm sure you could find some pedestrian walking on the side of the street that looks like Peter Parker.
He's not in the movie. So basically, this movie takes place in San Francisco, and they say that Eddie got ran out of New York, basically, to go there. And so, if they wanted to connect it, they probably could.
Yeah, I thought that was, when they said that, I was like, that's a really good, because they didn't make it what it was impossible.
Yeah.
But they didn't make it seem like they were intentionally avoiding it either. Yeah,
I didn't ever expect it to happen, but I was hoping. I heard that it had two after the credit scenes. I was like, maybe one is, Spider-Man, which at the very end of the movie, also super weird. Eddie says something about he got, he landed some big story or something, and she was going to have to wait till it came out to see. I thought that was going to come back and pay off and be like someone from the Spider-Man universe, but they never tell you who it is.
See, I was expecting when he was talking about, I thought for a really good Easter egg, at some point in the movie, he was talking about different companies that he's worked for.
Yeah.
And different, photography places. I really thought he was going to mention
The Daily
I'm like,
Bugle?
yes, thank you. The Daily Bugle. I was like, ooh, and I was listening really closely, and he didn't. And I was like, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Even if Spider-Man's not in this universe, there could still be a Daily Bugle, and that'd be a nice nod. You know, like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in there.
All right, so the villain, Carlton Drake, I absolutely just did not like. He started out fine, but he's the one that I got a real Spider-Man 1 vibe from, because it's the exact same thing. Basically, they have this thing, and he's like, oh, we need to start human experimentation right now. We got to do it now. And at least in the first Spider-Man movie, he did it because he had pressure from the board. Mm-hmm. In this movie, there is absolutely no reason to jump that fast. It would be far safer. He would probably make more money in the long run if he just went with the correct method. You know?
See, this is where I see a little bit different than you. So the way that I took it was that this is a race, and to him, he's the first one that has found these, and they are living, so you can't like, I don't know what the right word would be, patent or copyright or whatever they are, you know? So to me, him trying to hurry and pursue this and either use them to make medication or, because the point that he makes at the beginning is that he's trying to make the human race better.
So they can live in space.
Yes, exactly. And because he thinks that humans are wiping out the planet. So I see what he's doing and I see what he's saying, but at the same time, like, I agree with you. Like, he pushes it so fast, and then later on, he says something that basically defies everything he was talking about. Like, he talks about how he wants to save humanity and everything, and then, are we going in chronological order before I say this?
No, you can do whatever order you want, okay. Man.
Yeah, like, he's like, oh, I want to save the human race, and then the rest of the movie, he links up with, Violet. Yeah, Violet's in the movie, and links up with Violet and tries to go get the rest of the symbiotes to wipe out all life on the planet.
Well, I think that can be explained because the symbiote's in his head at that point, and it's altered his thinking. So I'm good with that. But, like, he goes from being pretty normal businessman to watching a man die in front of him, unfazed, like, in a horrific manner, and then immediately saying, oh yeah, bring in the next one.
See, I took that as he's always been a bad guy because there's a line, audio, that Eddie says he's always been doing, you know, crooked things.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying, like, from the audience standpoint.
No, yeah, I agree. Because you see him with children. There's like a school field trip, and there's children there, and he's talking to them, and he's like, you're the future! Yeah! And then, like, you know, sometime later in the movie, he's watching a guy, like, break all his bones in his body, and he goes, yeah, next subject. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it just doesn't... And then he doesn't actually become Riot until, like, the very end of the movie. It felt very much Iron Man 1 in that way, where he's kind of there, but not doing a whole lot, and then at the very end, he gets his suit. That's what happens here, and he has one fight, and it's not...
Yep.
It's not great.
This is my problem. I thought about this more this morning on... I went up with Caleb to see the movie, and I drove back. It's about an hour and a half drive, and we were stuck in traffic for 3 hours. But it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Anyways, so this is my problem with a lot of superhero movies, and I know Caleb and Zach have talked about it before, but it's bugging me. To have a villain, they don't have to be the same thing. Like, they don't have to be the same powers or something. Like, everything from, you know, Iron Man 1 to Venom to... I mean, any movie you look at.
The direction of this movie surprised me because they do pit symbiote versus symbiote, which they kind of show in the trailers. I didn't realize that was going to be the main villain and the only symbiote versus symbiote fight in the movie. I would have much rather seen him go up against a different type of character.
Yep.
Which frustrated me. And also, I read something earlier today that pointed this out. The mid-credit scene, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more, but it's got Carnage in it, right? Well, Cletus Cassidy. But
Yes.
Riot literally does everything that Carnage can do that's separate from Venom. Because Venom can't really morph the way that Carnage does. Carnage makes axes and spiky fingers, and he throws spikes and stuff, and that's kind of unique to him. Riot does all of that in this movie.
Yeah. But what isn't now you're the Spider-Man nerd, so I don't know this for a fact, but isn't Carnage more like vicious than Riot?
Well, yes, but only because of his host. Because his host is a serial killer.
Okay, fair enough. So
Yeah.
here's a question. At the end, the symbiote wasn't inside him, right?
No, it was.
It was?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell because they do I'm gonna talk about this really quick because you said you don't care. They show him in jail and Eddie's going to do an interview with him, and basically he says, whenever I get out, there's gonna be carnage, and it zooms up.
Carnage.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
he doesn't have
sorry,
it.
not Eddie. Okay, because when they were zooming up on his face, I thought his eyes were gonna turn. Because that's something they do in this movie. People's eyes turn whenever they're...
Oh, I hate that. They do it all the time, and it's like, yeah, we know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to keep showing us. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I'll let you finish, but you've got me off on two other things.
So it zooms up on people's eyes whenever a symbiote has taken control of them and is inside of them. And their eyes kind of like gloss over in this white and then go back to normal. It's like a real quick kind of thing. And the first and second time it happened, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's unique. But like Caleb said, they do it every single time someone is inhabited by a symbiote. And I'm like, okay, alright. You guys need to chill out. We get it. It's fine. It was cool the first couple times, but stop. Thank you.
Yep. Alright. First things up, because we're talking about the mid-credit scene. Well, couple things. One, that wig looks atrocious.
I agree. I read something that said he looks like Pennywise. Like the hair looks like
he looks like Carrot Top. It looks like they went down to Party City, grabbed the worst looking wig they could, and stuck it on him. It looks awful. That's the first thing. Second thing, I like Woody Harrelson as an actor. I think it's weird that they stuck him here at the end of the movie with a promise that maybe he'll be in the sequel. I think he is very miscast for this.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think, and this could be me too, isn't Carnage, now, in the comics, most of the time, I know he's probably had several different hosts, isn't he younger?
He is, but I'm not so much concerned about that. He is he's very similar to the Joker in terms of his level of insanity, because he's pretty much insane, right? And so he's always loud, he's always looking crazy, and Woody Harrelson in this scene doesn't do any of that. He's very quiet, he's very kind of reserved, and he's got this smirk on his face.
But at the same time, he's also riding with his own blood on the cage.
But he's not threatening at all.
See, I thought he was threatening not directly, but indirectly. Like, what he was doing, and it seemed that it didn't bother him at all. I see what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I see what you're saying, and I agree. But at the same time, like, I think he was threatening. It's just, it wasn't as direct, probably, as in the comics, which would have been better.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's right. I'm concerned because this is going to sound stupid, but one of the defining features of Carnage, as opposed to the other symbiotes, is he is very thin and very wiry, and Woody Harrelson is not.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not because I know so much about Carnage that I don't like this casting. It's that he doesn't play characters that are like this. I don't think.
His most defining role, or his big break, was Natural Born Killers, where he plays a serial killer. And that is why he got the role for this movie.
Okay.
I haven't seen that movie.
Neither have I.
But what he does here is not what he needs to be doing.
Yeah. And I had seen something that said he was, like you said, you saw something on Facebook and it said, you know, Woody Harrelson casted as, spoiler, in Venom, and you're like, okay, well, obviously, like you said, the only person they would put spoiler as, and he's Spider-Man, guys. No. But I saw that, I saw that, and I thought he was gonna be in the actual movie, because that was early on. You know?
I thought we were going to see Carnage at the very end when they show him, but we don't.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird.
So they do the weird thing where it's like, if I get out, there's going to be Carnage, which feels very dated.
Yeah.
It's weird. The whole thing just feels off. I was going to say, this is actually how he is created in the comics. Eddie Brock is in prison, and the symbiote breaks in, bonds with Eddie Brock, breaks out, and leaves like a little seed behind. And Cletus leaves, and that gets on him and becomes Carnage.
Okay, Corey was saying something about that, and I didn't know. And so I was curious. I was like, I wonder how. So do you think if they did a sequel, they would pick up right there?
Probably not. I feel like maybe it's going to be one of those, like a Silence of the Lambs type things, where he comes back and interviews him multiple times.
I see. That's interesting.
Yeah. All right, so the other thing I had that was super frustrating, you were talking about the glossy eye things, right?
Yes.
There is this entire subplot through the whole first half of the movie of Riot going from host to host to get to where he needs to go.
Yes.
It is such a waste of time. It is so boring. It doesn't add anything aside from maybe like the initial time you see it. Apart from that, we don't need to see how this thing gets there. Maybe more than one 20-second scene.
Mm-hmm. Because it goes through, what, 4 hosts?
You've got the
Paramedic.
The Life Foundation. You've got the old Asian lady. You've got the little girl. I think it's 3.
No, you're missing one because at the very beginning, he's in the astronaut, then he goes to the paramedic, then he goes to the old lady.
Oh, you're right.
Then he goes to
Yeah.
the little girl.
Yep, you're right.
So, I agree with you. I thought they were going to add something to kind of show... See, okay, this is where I knew Riot was in the movie, but this is where I thought this was maybe Carnage, and the reason why is the first time I saw, or the second time that it changed, and they killed all those people, you know, and it walked away in the old lady's body. I thought that Eddie Brock was going to be seeing it on the news, and it was going to be talking about, you know, the carnage left behind by someone, and it was going to keep following, you know, where they'd been, you know, the airport.
That could have been nice.
And yeah, I thought that was going to be really cool. And then it turned out to be Riot, and I was like, okay, well, that's still fine. But then they did nothing with whenever they were changing hosts. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad you wasted 15 minutes of the movie, you know, which is probably not that long, but.
Yeah. What did you think of the changes they made to the symbiotes?
So, list what changes you're talking about, because I'm not super familiar with the symbiotes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's basically it.
All right, so here I will say I don't know every single thing about all the symbiotes. I have not read many of the early symbiote storylines, so there's a possibility these are in there. From my knowledge, these things are not part of the comics. So the first thing is the healing. I'm pretty sure in the comics, when you're in the symbiote suit, it might accelerate your healing to a degree. But in this movie, it almost makes you invincible. I mean, we see people's legs with bones bulging out, go back into their body, and immediately heal up. Like
it's Wolverine. It's Wolverine's ability.
It's faster than Wolverine.
You think it's faster?
Yes.
All right.
If Wolverine breaks his leg, he's gonna have to push the bone back in for it to heal.
That's okay. Fair enough. I kind of liked that. But I go back and forth with this movie about the symbiote's abilities and what they are actually doing to the host, if I like it or not. Because
okay, I agree.
It starts out and a host takes. A symbiote takes a host, right?
Mm-hmm.
That host is now healing themselves. They are now, basically invincible. They're super strong. But as soon as the symbiote leaves, the human's dead. It doesn't make sense at first why the human's dead, because the symbiote's been healing them the entire time.
So here's what I get through the movie. The symbiote is feeding on their organs.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. At the beginning, it's not clear because you see them healing these people, and then it leaves them and they die. Yeah. But later on, what I was going to say, this is where I like it, is I have it specifically listed in my notes, actually. I said that at first, the way that they said was that in order for a symbiote and a host to be joined together at equilibrium, they had to be a perfect match. I didn't like that because I was like, oh, of course Eddie's going to be a perfect match, typical movie kind of thing. But then later, they explained it as in, this is at least what I took out of it. It doesn't have to be that it's a perfect host necessarily. It has to be a couple different things. One, the host has to be eating living animals to feed the symbiote. Two, it's a little bit of the symbiote's decision if it's going to kill the human, by eating off its organs or not. For example, how Venom through the first half of the movie was slowly killing Eddie, and Eddie didn't know it. And then he finds out, and then later on, they make a deal. And there's a funny line where Venom's like, "You better get me some food because your pancreas is looking awfully tasty," or something like that.
Yeah. Go
continue.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, so I didn't like it at the beginning because I was like, it doesn't make sense why the people are killing if the symbiote's healing them. And then I liked it. Oh no, I didn't like it again because they said perfect host has to be perfect person, and I was like, okay, that's. To me, I don't like that plot. I just don't. And then I liked it better when they explained basically that if certain things are being done, anybody can be the perfect host. And I get that the host and the symbiote influence each other. Kind of like you said, how Carnage's host makes him more vicious. I get that, and I like that. And that's why I left. I started to like it, but I feel like they change a couple times in the movie, and I think it gets kind of confusing watching.
I think it stays consistent. I don't think that you can be a perfect match just by doing stuff.
Okay.
What I think happens is, and I do not like this match stuff because, as far as I know, again, in the comics, that's not a thing. There might be better matches, but there's not like one it's just going to reject. So basically, if it bonds with someone that's not able to sustain it, it's not a perfect match. It is going to basically decay them from the inside out, right? If it is in a perfect match, it still has to eat, which can be many things. I am not sure if it has to have living animals or not. I don't think it has to, based on how this movie ends.
Yes, because remember, so I see what you're saying, because the movie ends and Venom's like, tater tots,
Right.
But earlier in the movie, whenever Venom was with Eddie for the first time, remember they go in the restaurant, he bites a steak and he says,
No.
ew, this is dead.
I know that.
Okay.
I think that's the natural eating habits of a symbiote.
Yes. Okay. I see what you're saying.
I don't think it has to do that, though.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So, I didn't like that. And then the symbiotes basically can reanimate things. I don't know if they can do that in the comics. It seems like something they might be able to do. I've never seen it. I didn't really like the way it was used here.
What do you mean reanimate? I mean, I know what that word means, but give an example like in the movie.
Well, you said that the person dies when the symbiote leaves. I took it as they were controlling a dead body.
See, I don't think so. Because, Well, it's not clear. That's the problem.
It's not clear. We don't
Because,
really know.
Like, the ambulance crashes, and the astronaut's in there, and so that crash looks like it would kill the paramedic, but before the ambulance wrecks, Wyatt, comes out and holds the paramedic. So maybe he transferred into the paramedic before the ambulance wrecked.
I don't know.
But you know what I'm saying? It's not clear.
Then there's an astronaut who's alive, who there's no way. And that's one of the things that set my alarm off. It's like, oh, well, the symbiote is on him, making him seem alive.
Oh, see, I took it as the symbiote attached to him before they crashed. And it kept him alive because as he was being injured, he was constantly healing him.
No.
That's how I took it.
I don't know. There's too much fire. I was very shocked that any of the symbiotes could survive that until they showed that the home, like the main part of the capsule, was fine.
Yeah.
But, not great.
Now,
okay. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, something that did confuse me since we're talking about this is that I'm confused why certain people are immediately killed by the symbiote. For example, they test the very first volunteer, right? The symbiote attaches to them. He's fine for maybe 20 seconds and then immediately dies. But whereas with Eddie and Annie and, other people, they can have the symbiote for a long time before they experience any problems.
That's the perfect match thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of Annie, She-Venom showed up in this movie from out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the best parts. She's only in it for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, I was like, because I was trying to think how Eddie was going to get out of the situation. Because basically what happens is he's caught and they take him out to the woods with 3 guys and they kill him, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense because they've been killing people in the lab the entire time. Why risk going into the woods and killing?
That's a good point. I don't know.
Like it's one of those things where like the bad guy tells his entire plan to the good guy and that's how the good guy ends up winning because he knows the entire plan.
Yeah.
And I get it's a movie, it's just I feel like there's a better way they could have done that.
Yep.
Maybe putting him in a room and seeing if another symbiote attached to him. Oh wait, no, by that point all the symbiotes were either missing or dead.
Well, we'll get to that. We can talk about it now. I don't know if that's true. There might be one left by the end of this movie. Because there were 4. One of them is dead for sure. Riot is dead for sure. Well, yes. Maybe for sure. We've got Venom. That's 3. There's one more, and I don't know if we ever see what actually happens to it.
See, this is where it's unclear, because I feel like when Eddie went in, right, he saw the one table that was flipped over.
Yeah.
With the symbiote laying on the ground that was dead. Or at least it looked like the symbiote.
The thing that was frozen.
I guess it was frozen. I just took that it had died in the room. They were keeping the room cold, but it was there dead. That's how I took it.
I took it as they were keeping the room cold to keep it disabled.
Okay, that may be a possibility, because then I was going to say, later on, you see, after... Well, no. What's the symbiote that killed... Sorry, it's hard to keep up, especially after only seeing it one time. Who's the symbiote that killed the doctor?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we're on the same page.
It was not the yellow one.
Okay.
I think, if there's one alive, I think it's the yellow one.
Okay. Now, do you know the name of the yellow one? Is that actually in the comics?
Yeah, I think it's Scream. I think Scream is the name of the yellow one.
I think that's right, because I saw an article and it had all the names, but I couldn't remember which was which. And one of them was Scream, because people thought in the trailers, whenever Eddie was passing that one room, and that homeless lady that he knows bangs on the window, people thought Scream was in her.
Which I think probably would have worked better than what we got.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the symbiote's plan.
Okay.
Right?
Which symbiotes?
Well, I'll get into it.
Okay.
So, at the beginning of the movie, we are told that, throughout the movie, we are told that the Life Foundation took a shuttle into space. On the way back, they just happened to come across this meteor. They get samples from it. They bring them back. Later on, Riot says, oh no, we're invading this planet. We're slaughtering everyone. So,
Yes.
the symbiote's plan was to hide out on an asteroid, hope that the ship stops, and takes them back to Earth, so that 4 of them could slaughter everyone, and then call the rest of them down?
No, so he was my thought. I think that they were using the asteroid. I don't know if it was actually an asteroid or like a ship.
They specifically said asteroid.
I know they say asteroid, but anyways, I feel like they were using the asteroid to go from planet to planet to keep on living. Or I think they were using the asteroid to get to a planet that has life. When those scientists showed up, they decided just, to not fight them, just let them go because they were life, and to lead them back to their planet.
I don't know,
so they
man.
could then return to the asteroid and bring everybody back. That's how I took it.
I disagree. Based on what all of the symbiotes say, Riot makes it sound pretty clear that they were coming to Earth. And then there's that moment where Venom goes up to the tower, and he's like, oh, well, I guess your world isn't that bad. Like, they had already known that they were going to take it over.
I see what you're saying, but at the same time, we don't know how these symbiotes can communicate. And so I wonder if maybe after they were picked up on the ship and they were in the lab on the ship coming back from, the Life Foundation ship, if they were communicating and Riot was like, hey, this is going to be our plan. They're going to take us back. I see what you're saying.
I don't know.
And I'm not disagreeing or agreeing. I'm just trying to make sense of it the best way that I can.
Riot makes it pretty clear that they came to Earth specifically to conquer it. But
I will say that I find it weird that out of... He said there's thousands of them or millions of them on the asteroid, right?
No. Not on the asteroid, I don't think. I don't know if he says it for sure. But in the comics, there's a planet with all of them on it.
Okay,
I thought only the 4 of them were on the asteroid.
Okay, that makes more sense, because what I was thinking was that there's millions on the planet, and these scientists just happen to take one of the leaders, which is Riot.
No,
I was like, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah,
but,
no, I don't think so.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the thing earlier that I said make sure we talk about?
Oh, that's a great question, Caleb. You talk about something else for a second, and I'm gonna try to remember.
Dang it!
What that was, because
stuff to talk about.
Let's go back. We were talking about Eddie Brock, and we were talking about Annie, how she didn't have as major of a role as people thought. We were talking about how the design of Venom.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. We're gonna go back and listen to the beginning of this when we're done and be like, oh, well, that was obvious.
Yeah, probably. And
or we already covered it.
I was about to say, maybe we already hit it. Let's just hope so.
Yeah.
What did you think about... I'm pretty sure this is the same as in the comics, but what did you think about the weaknesses of the symbiotes?
That was good. Yeah, that's the same.
That's what I thought, because I was thinking back, and I was like, I know sound was a harmful effect on symbiotes from somewhere, and I was like, oh yeah, Spider-Man 3. When he's, and they have all the pipes in the ground, and he runs around hitting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. How did you think that the weaknesses were used in the movie? For example, what did you think about the use of the ultrasound or the MRI machine?
I liked it a lot.
Okay.
I think that the way they used all the weaknesses in the movie was really good. It felt really natural. Because most of the times in the comics, the sound thing is a sound gun, a sound cannon, which we don't really have the way that they have them in the comics. So it's kind of a hard thing to pull off. So I really like the MRI. I think the use of the fire was great because we haven't seen that in the movies before. They just ignored that in Spider-Man 3, I guess, except for the grenade, but they didn't ever say that was a weakness. They just...
Yes.
I mean, a grenade blows anything up, so...
I mean, okay, fair enough. I was what did you think at the end when Eddie's falling out of the sky and Venom creates a parachute for him, and then it just skips and Venom and him are fine?
I thought that was odd.
Me too.
I thought he was going to be without Venom, or maybe Venom was going to find him again. But the fact that he just has him, it was odd. It was a funny reveal, but strange.
That's what I thought. Like, I'm glad that they ended the movie and he still has Venom. I just feel like there could have been a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Or maybe have it in an after credit scene. You know, him walking along the street or something and like stepping in a puddle and like Venom was in the puddle, or, you know, something. Or that cat. Why not have Venom take over the cat that Eddie loves so much? That's Annie's, you know? And he goes over to pet it and he's like, "Hello, Eddie." And you're like, what?
Whoa.
Like,
did you just make that noise?
Yeah.
Do that again.
"Hello, Eddie."
That sounds exactly like the voice.
I mean, I voiced him, so.
Say something else.
"Like a toad in the wind."
Whoa. Whoa. Well, you say, like, comment, and subscribe because we're nerds.
Like, comment, and subscribe, cause we're nerds.
Oh, it ruined at the end. I can't do long sentences.
That's all good. Wow, that is really good.
Well, thanks, man.
Wow. I thought you just pulled it up on your phone.
Nope, that was it. But can you just imagine? Wow, thanks, man. Can you imagine, like, him being on Annie's cat, you know, and Eddie comes up and goes over to Dan and Annie's for dinner or something, and he goes over to pet the cat, and the cat literally just, like, taunts to him, and he's like,
"Hey, Eddie."
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
Like,
that would have been pretty funny.
That would have been super funny, and I just feel like, maybe not even necessarily a funny way, I just feel like there was a cool way to have him come back instead of just being like, "Hey, psych, I'm not dead."
All right. So we're running pretty long. Is there anything you want to talk about real quick before we go into the next thing?
Let me see.
We had the Stan Lee cameo, which
yes,
was surprising. Man,
yes.
he looks really old.
Yeah, he does. It made me kind of sad.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, with everything that's been going on, you know, and just seeing him in this movie, I was like, okay, this is not... Like, I'm glad he was in it. I'm glad he can make an appearance. But at the same time, I'm like...
Maybe it's time to step away.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, that's hard to say, and that's hard to think about. But at the same time, you know, his health needs to be put first.
Exactly.
And, you know... I mean, I think fans would agree if he came out and said, you know, here's the deal. I need to stop.
I think so.
But for the movie, I don't think... Oh, this is something super small, and they changed it in the trailer, so you might even know. I didn't realize until the movie. They went back and changed symbiote to symbiote, which I had a thing for when the first trailer came out, because the doctor was walking with Eddie, and she was like, symbiote, and I always say symbiote. And so to me, it kind of threw me off. And then I was listening in the movie, and she said it, and she was like, symbiote. And I was like, wait a second. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, at least at one point, Eddie says symbiote, which is just all kinds of wrong.
But I mean, that's better than just calling him a parasite.
He actually is more of a parasite than... Well, Venom is a symbiote, whatever. But the others are more like parasites.
Caleb, that's offensive to them.
Well, sucks for them.
Other than that, no, I'm A-okay.
All right. So yeah, I mean those are our thoughts, so I'm not going to rate it again. So at the very end we did get a one scene of Into the Spider-Verse.
A long scene.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a little jarring for me. It was kind of hard to keep up with because of the visuals.
I agree.
I was very surprised by that. So that kind of has me concerned, but the actual content was really good.
I think I would have liked it more if it wasn't right after Venom.
Sure. I get
It's
that.
like the entire movie, I had a specific feeling, you know? And like seeing
I got
all
a
these...
feeling.
Exactly.
Ooh,
Seeing like
that
all these...
tonight's gonna be a bad night.
I thought you were done.
That tonight's gonna be a bad night.
Are you done?
Tonight's gonna be a bad night.
But yeah, like I had a, specific, and so I thought, I knew it was coming. I had seen something previously, and then when they listed the music in the credits, it said Into the Universe, Into the Spider-Verse, and you're like, wait, that wasn't in the movie, and then the scene comes up, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. I just think if I go back and see it again, not the movie, the scene, I think I'll like it more.
Yeah. Okay. That's good, because that was that, and this is this. It's time for What You Been Up To. So, Jacob, what you been up to?
Ooh, that was slick.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I did not think of this ahead of time. Well, not that I normally do. This entire show's off the cuff and we take no notes at all. But, if we did, I would have had this. What have I been up to?
I just asked you that.
Fair enough. Well, Caleb, I am in college, so I've been pretty busy cranking out an essay lately.
Oh, what on?
Ooh. Comparing Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and Grindor from Beowulf.
Interesting.
Not really, but, I mean, it's fine. So, if I'm specifically talking about naughty things, the only naughty thing that I've done lately
Is watch Venom.
is, well, okay, fair enough. That is kind of naughty. Oh, I got it. Sorry. I started season 2 of Westworld.
Oh,
at
okay.
your house while you were at work.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, good.
Yeah. Me and Corey watched the first 2 episodes.
Thoughts?
And it's very different than the first season.
It is.
But I like it.
Okay, that's good.
I'm not sure where they're gonna go with it. It took a little bit different approach than I thought it was going to.
I don't think you know where it's going to go for another 2 or 3.
Caleb, I'm gonna be honest, by the last episode, I'm still not gonna know where it goes because there's so many plot twists.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really good. Other than that, I highly suggest it. Other than that, the only naughty thing that I've done is I've been trying to work on that Two-Face costume for Halloween.
Uh-huh.
For listeners, I am having a few friends over, and we are all dressing up. Not specifically as superheroes, but that's what me and my girlfriend decided to go as. So she's going as the lovely Poison Ivy, and she's making her costume. So I could not be a slacker and just go buy a costume. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it. And so I decided to go as Two-Face. And so, like, I bought a suit and everything. And I've started laying out specs for my mask, because I'm gonna be making a latex mask for half my face. And so I've started doing that. And I've started coming up with color schemes for the mask, to decide whether more cartoony or more realistic. And pretty soon I'm gonna start bleaching half my suit. So, wish me luck.
Nice.
Yeah. But, other than that, that's basically it.
All right.
So, Caleb, what you been up to?
Man, I've been thinking about this. Not a whole lot. I recorded Monday, and then I edited all day Tuesday. Yesterday, I was at the movie. Tonight, I'm recording, so that really only left Wednesday. So not a whole lot. I watched a couple more episodes of Naruto. Courtney and I have been watching Naruto Shippuden. So
nice.
We watched like 3 episodes of that. That's pretty much about it. I haven't had enough time to do other stuff.
You played some Naruto the other day with me and Koi.
That's true. I whooped some tail.
I mean, okay, I think you may be confused on the definition of whoop and tell, but I mean, you do you. You go for it.
That's what I do, man. All me.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
I think that was another successful episode.
I think that was pretty good. Other than all, few scuffles.
Nah, no scuffles.
Yeah, just kidding. We didn't edit this at all.
I probably won't do much editing. Actually, it was a pretty good episode.
It was a pretty good episode.
But you know who else doesn't do much editing?
Who else doesn't do much editing, Caleb?
Taylor Poole. Ooh.
Nice.
Taylor Poole, that's TaylorPoole, and you can find him at TaylorPooleMusic.com. He did our opening intro music. Check him out.
And also, while you're checking him out, you should check out CNC Power Hour. That is the little CNC Power Hour. They stream on the days that I forgot. Caleb?
Magic's Gathering on Sundays and video games
Yes.
usually on Saturday.
Yes, thank you for that. And while you are checking them out and you're checking everybody else out, you should go ahead and check our websites, which is cuzwerenerds.com. Caleb's been putting a lot of hard work on it, and that's the best way to share the episodes. So why don't you get on there and tell everybody what you love?
Also, drop us a line.
Most
Tell us-
definitely.
Tell us what you want to hear.
Yes. And just so you know, how you spell that is
CUZWERENERDS.com.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That was really hard to do. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to 'Cause We're Nerds. Stay up to date with all the nerdy news and podcast drops by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also leave us comments and feedback at cuzwerenerds@gmail.com. That's CUZWERENERDS@gmail.com. And as always, if you enjoy this podcast, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Seriously, guys, it really helps. Disney. That all-consuming thing. It's taken Marvel, it's taken Star Wars, and really, it's taking over the world. Next week, we talk about the ever-expanding empire of Disney. Can we stop it? Should we? Find out next week on 'Cause We're Nerds. Stay nerdy.
My little pony, what will today's adventure be?
That was My Little Pony covered by Venom, the symbiote.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm gonna die.